Hey, it's Corrina, your virtual health coach, and today I want to share with you some health tips for office workers. This video is brought to you by FlexiSpot and this beautiful Comar standing desk. So FlexiSpot not only makes these awesome standing desks, this one actually rises up electronically on its own. It's so cool, but they also have desk risers if you wanted to turn your regular desk into a standing desk. I'm going to tell you more about the Comar standing desk a little bit later in the video, but I want to thank FlexiSpot so much for sponsoring the video. So these are going to be tips that are helpful whether you're working in an office building or you are working from home, like so many of us have been doing the last couple years. I know that a lot of times we feel so stressed throughout our busy day, so hopefully these tips are going to help you to feel a little less stress, a little less overwhelmed while you're getting some work done. For my first tip in this video, I want to bring a little bit of clarity to the topic of sitting. So I've heard a lot of different claims like sitting is terrible for our health, sitting is the new smoking, but I just want to bring a little bit of clarity here. So it's not that sitting in and of itself is horrible for our health or super terrible on its own. But what is bad for our health is really prolonged periods of time in one position. So if you're sitting at your desk for 5 hours and maybe you don't stand up at all during that period of time, that really big, long period of time where you're just sitting in one position can have negative effects on our health, on our spine, even our circulation. So the tip here is just to think about breaking up those long periods of time where you might be just sitting in one position. So maybe that's setting a little alarm on your phone or on your computer to go off as a reminder, or even having a little post-it note reminder on your screen, just letting you get up, move your body around a little bit, and just breaking up those long periods of time spent in one sedentary position. For my second tip, I want to bring a little bit of attention to the way that we sit. So right now I have my chair on its lowest setting, and what I want you to notice is that my knees are a little bit higher than my hips. So if we can actually lift our chair up, and I will just do that here to show you, so that our hips are either a little bit above our knees or at least on the same level as our knees, it makes it easier to sit up straight. So sometimes I'll even get like a bar stool or something really tall so that my knees can hang even lower than my hips. But the bottom line here is just to kind of notice the position that you're sitting in. Notice if maybe you can do something to either lift your hips up, like sitting on a pillow or a cushion or even a stack of books. And just remember that if your knees are above your hips, it makes it really hard to sit up straight. I'll just go back low again to show you. Just this one simple action of bringing the knees now above my hips makes it harder for me to sit up straight. So as long as we are not crouching forward the whole time we're sitting can actually be a fairly healthy position for the body. So just pay attention to these little things that help us to sit up a little straighter, have a little bit better posture while we sit. Tip number 3 is remember to hydrate. So I know this is one of those tips that we hear over and over and over again, and it gets kind of annoying, but I also know, as someone who works at a desk, that sometimes you go tunnel vision for hours at a time, you forget to eat, you forget to drink, and then suddenly you look up from your computer and you feel completely overwhelmed, you feel kind of depressed, you just feel awful. So a lot of that can be avoided if we're staying hydrated and if we're remembering to eat. And kind of a little bonus tip that I wanted to add here is that in addition to drinking water, which we know that we need for hydration, you also want to remember that salt is just as important for the body to be able to absorb all the hydration and water that we're drinking. So some people will even add a little bit of sea salt to their water, or maybe it's having some kind of salty snack, or I love those little seaweed snacks. That's a great example of something that's giving you lots of minerals, even giving you iodine, in addition to giving you some of that sodium that helps your body stay hydrated. So remember to hydrate, and remember that you need some healthy, high mineral content salt to get all of those hydration benefits you need. Tip number 4, if you're not able to intersperse a little time getting outdoors and getting some fresh air, breaking up those periods of sitting at your desk, then a kind of good second place alternative is to bring some fresh plants into your home or office. So there are actually a lot of different plants that are known to help purify the air. So whether it's things like absorbing formaldehyde or neutralizing some of the other chemicals that just kind of off gas inside of our home or office, you can think about things like golden pothos, also snake plants, and if you do a simple search for plants that purify the air, you will be actually amazed to find that there are a lot of different plants that have these great benefits. And not only do they help to clean and purify the air that we're breathing, but studies have also shown that just looking at plants or looking at things in nature has really positive effects on the brain. So on that note, if you're not able to get outside, not able to bring plants indoors, maybe you can sit next to a window and keep the blinds open so that you can keep your eyes on the beautiful nature scenery even as you're working inside. For tip number 5, I just want to share a couple of tips for you if you are somebody who has a standing desk. And technically, even if you don't have a standing desk, you could still use these tips. So coming off of what I talked about at the beginning of the video, the idea of just breaking up the long periods of time sitting in one position. The first thing I want you to think about is that you don't need to have really long durations of standing. So whether it's just standing up and stretching away from your desk or even rising up your standing desk to stand for a little while, it's not about staying standing and working for super long periods of time. Instead, maybe think about having just 1 minute or 5 minutes that you spend standing and then you come back down to seated. So rather than standing at the desk being something that you're trying to do for most of the day, think about it as something that you're trying to do several times a day for just little short bursts of time. And the more that you're breaking up those long periods of sitting, you're getting all the benefits, even if you're only standing for maybe 10 or 20 minutes a day once you add all of that time up. Whether you are somebody who has a standing desk or maybe you just stand up and step away from the computer for a moment, do a little bit of stretching, do a little bit of movement. There's a lot that you can do in one tiny space, just stretching arms up overhead, maybe doing some little side bends and stretches. The bottom line here is just to remember that once we're sitting for long periods, the body's going to appreciate anything that just gets the blood moving, gets the circulation going, and reminds the muscles that it's not time to go to sleep. You're actually still awake. You still need to be using these muscles. So for instance, if we're slouching at the computer for a long time, sometimes the back muscles just get kind of weak and tired. So by throwing in these little bursts of movement throughout the day, you're actually going to keep those muscles healthier and keep them more engaged so that they're not falling asleep on the job, you could say. Another great thing to do while you're doing this little stand-up break or burst of movement is to stretch your quads. So while we're in a sitting position, the quads can get a little confrontational. So when you get up to stand for a moment, this is a great opportunity to do a little quad stretch or any other little one-leg balancing poses you'd like maybe tree pose or even dancer. I just like to have fun with this and bring a little bit of energy and activity into my day. Thank you so much for joining me for this video. I really hope that you have found some of these tips useful, helpful, and if there's anything that I forgot, be sure to chime in down in the comments and let me know. I'm also happy to answer any questions that you may have, and be sure to visit the link below if you're interested in checking out any of the FlexiSpot items, such as this Comar glass top standing desk or any of their other awesome products. Thank you so much to FlexiSpot for sponsoring, and I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. Can't wait to see you in the very next video.
Welcome to YogaPlus. Courses available from pupil to yogi. Sort by yoga, fitness, and instructors. Create your own routines. Access the pose library. YogaPlus by Psyche Truth, available on Google Play and the App Store.
Join us for 14 and 30-day programs, hour-long classes, and much more on our yoga app, YogaPlus by Psyche Truth. It's free to download and features a variety of wellness content, including yoga, fitness, Pilates, guided meditations, and interviews with dozens of wellness experts.